Good morning and welcome to Life at the Laundry Garden, episode 3. We are blessed with a glorious day today. It's Sunday, it's the beginning of September. I do love this month. It's sort of that end of summer, beginning of autumn, and everything is just starting to calm down. The dahlias are going crazy and all those autumnal colours are just going to start creeping in. It's just glorious. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get my hat on and my peony on and we're going to go straight outside. I'll show you where we're going in just a second. I'll show you on the map as well. Again, I hope that was helpful last time. We're going to be working in the house garden today. I will have Tom with me a bit later on, so he's going to be working outside the front of the house, clipping some box, while I'm going to be over by the Lime Avenue doing a bit of tidying up and cutting back. So we'll see you in a minute. Here's the map from a bird's eye view, and we're just going to zone in on where we're going to be today. Okay, so here's the house, and this is the area we call the house garden. Just directly outside the front of the house is a box parterre here, and then just in this corner here there's some box balls, and that's where Tom's going to be working. And then just here, this bit is the Lime Avenue, and we've got some planting just along this wall here, and I'm going to be sorting that out today. So this is the part of the garden we call the Lime Avenue, and I'm going to be working just behind this parterre over here, and Tom is going to do some box clipping on these box balls here and the box parterre at the front of the house. This was one of the first parts of the garden we created. We planted the Lime Avenue as 12-foot whips, and all of this was gravel up until just over a year ago when we decided to put the pathway in. But we'll come back to that another time. This is probably one of my favourite parts of the garden, purely because we've kept it very simplistic with the calmness of the lawn, and I've also kept the planting scheme just to a palette of blue, white and green, which is ideal, and it keeps it nice and, as someone did say to us, monastic. So we'll give you a tour of this at some stage and a proper insight of... Oh, hello.
Hello.
I've just said you're going to be... Oh, he's been picking figs as well. They're thinning out of it now, aren't they? We're not getting as many.
No. Second flush.
Second flush. Like I said, Tom's going to be clipping the box balls. These ones.
And these ones. Well, these things.
Yes.
They're not balls.
Oh.
Well, they're not going to be. They're sort of a mound.
Oh, correction there for me. Whoops.
And it's box balls next door in the house.
Oh,
garden.
yes, yeah.
So that's my job today.
But we'll come back to that in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to show you what I'm doing over here. In this border here, I've planted, or tried to plant, a succession of flowers. At the very front here, we've got Nepeta Walkers Low, and just behind here we've got a beautiful white peony, and I think it's Kelways. And then just behind that we've got this blue Aconitum, which was given to me, and I've literally split, and it now fills this area. And then just behind that I've got some of this beautiful white Anemone here, which is flowering now. And the succession is there. Along the wall here This is Rose Madame Alfred Carrier, which has an incredible white flower on it, fabulous scent, and is smothered, literally smothered, in the month of May. It's wonderful, love it. And then soon after, around the time of the flowering rose, the peonies and the Nepeta are flowering together, and then you've got the flush of the Aconitums coming up, and then at this time of year we have got the Anemones coming up. The Anemones are coming, I think, another couple of years, and they will start to get their roots in. And this was only planted last year. We moved the planting from just over this side into here to fill out this part of the garden, which is coming. It's coming. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a good tidy up. I'm going to cut back, I'm going to wear gloves. Now, Aconitum is highly poisonous, all parts of it, and I will definitely have to be wearing some gloves for even touching it or working with it. I'm going to be cutting that back to the ground. What I want to do is to give the anemone some space and to let that shine. I'm also going to cut the Nepeta right back. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to cut back the peonies. I'm going to take off any flower heads that are still remaining. But once that's done, I'll be left with the anemones and the leaves of the peonies, and it'll just look a lot tidier. I could leave this if I wanted to and leave it through the winter and let the frost touch everything and look glistening, but this part of the garden is different to the rest. I try and keep it fairly manicured and tidy, especially with the clipped domes, as Tom said. I'm going to give you a quick overview of exactly what I'm going to do in here. The one thing that I'm not going to cut back is the anemone, because it's flowering, and this is going to give us some flowers for at least the rest of this month. And I'm not going to cut back these peonies, because hopefully we'll get some nice autumn colour from them through September and October. So we're going to keep the leaves on these, and if there are any spent flower heads, I'll cut them off. What I am going to cut back is the aconite and the Nepeta. What I want to point out is Aconitums are poisonous, this one in particular. It's a deadly nightshade family. So I've got some nice new gloves here. Well, they don't look new, but I know they don't have any holes in them, and I'm not going to get any of this onto my skin. So you've got to be extra careful. I have been warned by one or two people not to grow it in the garden because it's so poisonous. But what I am going to do with this is I'm going to take a hold of it and go right down to the base and snip it completely away. Like so. Come right down to the base here. So I want to be careful not to, so I've got these nice thicker stems of the peonies here, so that's what I need to avoid. And then I've got I'm going to cut right to the base of the Nepeta as well and take them away. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to see these leaves a lot more, and I also want to see the anemones better as well. This Nepeta is the Walkers Low. So over on the other side where Tom's working with the box balls is Six Hills Giant. Now the Walkers Low is deliberately planted here because it does not get as big. This is about as big as it'll get, and it will spill out onto the lawn, we don't mind that, whereas the Six Hills Giant is huge and it really does cover a lot of the gravel and almost hides the box balls. But I wanted this as the shorter version, and it's gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift up the peonies, and you can see the stems looking very leggy, and just take them off right to the ground. Don't worry, they're all going to come back. They'll probably shoot. You'll see these nice little fresh shoots here. We'll get some of those coming up. And then it'll just die back down again once the frosts come in sort of, well, I wonder whether we will get any frosts this year anyway. Probably more like January, February. And but do not be afraid to just snip them back. And then as I let this down, I can then start to appreciate the beautiful leaves of these peonies. Well, I'm going to get all of this done now. I do love working in this part of the garden, especially on a hot summer's day, because it gets lots of shade in the afternoon by this gable end here and a little bit from the trees, so it's perfect for me. I'm not a sun worshipper whatsoever, so on any hot summer's day you'll always find me somewhere in the shade. Beautiful box parterre that we planted from cuttings. It's been in a few years now, and this is what Tom's going to work on this afternoon. Tell us what you're doing, darling.
I'm just checking it over really. We've had Box Blight for about 6 or 7 years, and this year, because it's been so wet and anything fungal just has a complete holiday on when it's wet, the blight has really extended an awful lot further. It's probably more than quadrupled over this year. We've been treating it with a fungicidal wash every year, and it has worked. It is coming back in these areas where we've had it before, but then it's spread. If you look back to here, this is what's happened this year.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'm not sure if it's accepted practice, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a vacuum cleaner and I'm going to suck up all of the affected leaves and any other leaves that I can see that will possibly come off. And then I'm going to trim the box because it hasn't been trimmed this year. We've avoided it because it's got blight. And then I will spray this fungicidal wash on it at least once this season.
Yeah, there's a little patch here as well.
And then next year we will attempt to be a little bit more careful and clever with it, and we shall fertilise it. It's not something we did this year. Give it some vigour.
And there are patches of it in more places than ever before, but there are also recovered places. There's lots of promise going on here, I think.
We don't like giving up on plants.
No, we don't.
And we have tried alternatives, and certainly Ilex crenata doesn't seem to work for us. We haven't had much luck with it. And anything else here, we're not quite sure it would look the same. So, well, yeah, of course it wouldn't look the same. I mean, a block of lavender might be quite interesting here. But
it's not sunny enough.
No.
There's also another area that Tom is going to work in too. Oh, look at you.
Follow me.
There is still what we call the house garden. I'm going to go through the beech hedge and onto this section. So this is the south border in the house garden and our gazebo. Now these are box balls, aren't they?
These are meant to be box balls. They've grown a bit too much this year. Again, we left them. We either didn't have time or forgot about them or something before we opened our garden this year.
They're looking good though.
And they've sort of got a little bit of a mohica going on here, and I'm going to trim them back so that they're a slightly tighter ball. This is all sort of a preparation for the colder months. It should have enough chance to produce a small fresh growth that it will at least be hardy through the winter. So what I've done is we've got some rubber, and out of a sheet I've cut a straight line, and then I've cut a hole, and I'm going to make this hole a little bit bigger actually, because that wasn't quite big enough. And then
this is really useful because this is like a pea gravel here, and trying to clear up the small leaves of the box clippings out of gravel is just a complete pain.
So you could do this with an old bit of carpet or pond liner or something like that.
I use sheets. You can use sheets as well. You don't have to use rubber.
The only thing about the rubber is it doesn't blow around too much. If you've got a breezy day, it does stay in place.
Yeah, that's true.
So there we go. That's round the base of the box. And now I'm going to give it a haircut.
Before you start, tell us what you're doing with your tools and what's in here.
I've got two different sets of shears. I've got a standard set from a DIY centre, and then I've got my Milwaukee shears.
Favourite shears.
So these are for rough work, and I'll rough over the whole thing with these, and then I'll use the Milwaukee shears, which are slightly sharper and better maintained, for the finer work, just to finish it off and get a sharper look to it. One thing I have sort of discovered, well, I should have discovered it right at the beginning, but is to keep your tools not only sharp but clean.
What do you use to keep yours clean?
We use, but certainly between cuts, we will use white spirit and a cloth, and just wipe the surface down, wipe the blades down with a bit of white spirit.
Okay.
Between plants.
Yeah, because you get sticky stuff on as well, don't you? Like a sappy.
Well, that's true. It helps to do that.
Okay, right. I'll leave you to it. I have no idea why, but Tom seems to do so much better at this than I could.
And you're the hairdresser.
I know, I'm the hairdresser. I'm better on sort of straight cutting, straight lines. Maybe that's just the hairdresser in me. You seem to be really good at doing the difficult things, like going into this ball shape. So there are 3 this side and 2 just tucked over here. They've been in quite a few years and are going to look much better after a good haircut.
The word I was looking for earlier was hygiene. Good hygiene is essential when you're cutting anything like this. So sharp blades and keep them clean.
Take a look at Tom's clipped balls in here. Oh look! Oh, he does such a good job of them. They're amazing. There's no chance I could get them looking as good as this. He's amazing. Oh. Back over here now to help Tom. He's already started going in the middle. Start with the outer section. We're going to try and clip all the healthy looking blocks first, and then clean our shears and clip the affected areas. I've also vacuumed out these bits here and there. There's quite a few patches, so it is fairly riddled with the blight, unfortunately. But, hopefully we'll get this finished before it gets dark. This is the perfect time to do it actually, now the sun's gone in and there's no glare on here anymore. Let's go. We did it! And before dark as well.
Well, just.
Well, yeah, just. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for us. And what we're going to do next is give it a treatment, not now, but we'll give it a foliar feed and we'll give it some treatment as well with the...
I might do it tonight, just because it's still. It's very still. I'm not going to... There's not going to be any overspray or anything to anything else, so I may well do it tonight.
Anyway, we're going to clear up and finish up here. Thank you so much for watching today. We've had lots of fun. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Can't wait to see you next week. We have got some very exciting news for you next week, so stay tuned and we'll see you on episode 4. Bye!